Textbook viewpoint discrimination. California judge says the feds can't selectively prosecute right-wing rioters. Finally, even in now this may have been an Orange Man appointee. So when Orange Man got into office, there was like literally, I think, 3,000 to 5,000 free judge positions out there because no one took that shit seriously and appointed them. So Orange Man appointed them, including to California. All right, now for a refreshing moment of sanity as the left weaponized the Department of Injustice, the FBI, and other federal agencies. At least now we have a glimmer of hope that one judge in California, no less, recognizes the lawfare Democrats are engaged in and does something about it. So a judge dismissed charges against 2 right-wing rioters for selective prosecution, saying that after the right and left-wing groups clashed at a protest, it arrested 20 right-wingers and 0 Antifa, despite Antifa starting it and behaving identically. And most likely being more violent, too. So a judge in California threw out charges against 2 far-right political agitators. Say what they are, real, just normal people. They probably weren't even right-wing up until they were radicalized by the left. Saying the federal government engaged in selective prosecution by charging right-wing rioters, but not the far-left agitators they fought against who did the exact same thing. Robert Rundo and Robert Bowman attended a pro-Orange Man free speech rally in Berkeley on April 15th, current year -7, as members of the Rise Against movement, a group of regular people that engaged in violence against left-wing groups like Antifa. No, they reciprocated against Antifa violence. I don't think I've ever seen these groups start it. All they did was reciprocate when the far left got violent. And yet they're always the ones that get treated like they're the bad guys. And one of those groups was By Any Means Necessary, which would descend upon right-wing events and shut them down and start fights. And not get prosecuted. I know individuals associated with the left who engaged in in anti-normal people speech and violently suppressed the protest speech of Orange Man supporters were charged with federal crime for their part in starting riots at political events. That is textbook viewpoint discrimination, he wrote. Most telling in this case is the government's silence as to why it's never pursued a case against a single member of Antifa or related far-left groups with respect to their violent conduct at pro-Trump events. Defendants have established selective prosecution. There's no doubt that the government did not prosecute similarly situated individuals. Antifa and related far-left groups attended the same rallies as the defendants with expressly stated purpose of shutting down through violence if necessary, protected political speech. At the same Orange Man rallies that form the base of the defendant's prosecution, members of Antifa and related far-left groups engaged in organized violence to stifle free speech. You're realizing it. That's good. A refreshing and honest change of pace. The January 6th, the quote-unquote rioters, getting a guided tour by the police of the Capitol. That's right. So, the cops are mad as hell at their entrapment. Hard work catching quote-unquote terrorists was foiled. That's right. I've covered this a few times, but now that the so-called war on terror is pretty much over, all these government agencies are trying to manufacture a new threat to justify their continued existence. Because why do we need to have all these people on the payroll? They've been sentenced to a collective 840 years in prison, something the puppet bragged about and his supporters applauded. How many BLM and Antifa rioters who spent most of current year -4 burning down cities, causing billions of damage, and Minecrafting at least 25 people were even arrested, let alone sentenced? Few, if any. Now, I think, to be fair, to play devil's advocate, I think this would have been different. There would have been a much higher number if they actually tried that shit in right-wing neighborhoods. But they just burned down their own cities again. It's far-left rioters burning down far-left cities. Who fucking cares? So this is selective prosecution. It's about darn time someone with authority to do something says the quiet part out loud. So unfortunately, following an emergency appeal from the prosecution, the Ninth Circuit Court had one of the men arrested and he will remain in custody pending resolution of the appellant's motion to stay released pending appeal and barred any lower court from releasing him. This sounds like some good lawsuit material to me. When he's finally released, can he sue the fuck out of him? Antifa would have been among what were called the Red Guards in the Cultural Revolution in China. They do the bidding of the powers that be, avoid arrest for the most part, and help the elite stay in power. Yeah, all of them are corporate dick riders, too. Exactly, they get away with it because the powers that be approve what they do. And yeah, it is a multi-tier justice system. It's different when one side commits crimes. What's a parking ticket for a Democrat is a felony for a Republican. It always invariably ends badly. If that's what they want, let's go. I think conservative attorney generals need to go after these Soros DAs, even if it has the slightest thing to do with their state, even civil lawsuits. I agree. Look, if the far left wants to set the precedent of using the legal system as a weapon against your opponents, we need to respond in kind. Otherwise, we're just bending over and getting pegged. Yeah, play hardball? We don't do that, apparently. That'll make you just as bad as them. Now, if you agree with the left-wing narrative, you're rewarded. If you disagree, you're either punished or eliminated. Yup. Another case of selective prosecution? Yeah, Musk knows. A lot of those these days. Maybe it must be that healing the soul of the nation looks like, huh? Yeah, that's right. Damn, anyone ask prosecutors why in the face of their own evidence they didn't prosecute Antifa too? We'd love to hear that answer. Oh, I would love for one of these prosecutors to be honest at some point, because Soros doesn't pay us to prosecute Antifa. May go all the way to the Supreme Court. Oh, God, if this goes all the way to the Supreme Court, John Roberts and one of the other Republicans will cuck out.